everybody, and welcome to the Week 7 edition of Coach's Night Out. We're live at Town Square Social, 145 Public Square, Lebanon, open for lunch and dinner 7 days a week. Let me remind you, no reservations at Town Square Social. This place is packed. They've only got 17 tables downstairs. Don't expect to call and get reservations. Come in here, get in line like everybody else. This place is full, and it's full for a reason. Our sponsors, Advantage Roofing Contractors, LLC, Donnie Self and Rob Painter, Daryl Tidwell, loan originator with Southern Bank of Tennessee, the Salas Realty Group, 120 Public Square, Lebanon, THW Insurance Services, LLC, Cumberland University Athletics, and the good folks at DT McCall & Sons, Lebanon, Carthage, Lafayette, Franklin, and Cookeville. Coach's Night Out airs on Facebook platforms everywhere. Also on X, used to be called Twitter at TB Sports 85, and on the Main Street Media TV app. This week, Week 7 of high school football, the last week before fall break. Wilson Central at Lebanon, Warren County at Green Hill, Antioch host Mount Juliet, Friendship Christian at Providence Christian, and they're going to play at the 30,000-seat Johnny Red Floyd Stadium on the campus of Middle Tennessee State University. Giles County at Warren County, that's going to be a DeKalb TV game. It's going to be on their local cable, DTC3, and Mount Juliet Christian goes to Leapers Fork to take on Grace Christian of Franklin. Chuck Gentry, head coach of the Lebanon Blue Devils, with me here on segment 1. And coach, 37-0, the win over Watertown. What a crowd on hand on both sides. Of course, it was homecoming for Lebanon, but the game did what you and Coach Webster hoped it would do, is get a lot of people to the stadium this year, and you feel like next year it ought to do the same thing.
Yeah, Tommy, the deal we said, we want to get together, make a lot of money. Lebanon wants to win the game and come out injury-free. We did 2 out of the 3 of those. And so, again, good crowd, good atmosphere. Again, I think we all got something out of it and, didn't play well at times, but like I told Joe, if you look up there and say 37-0 on homecoming against a team that you should beat, and had a rough week, we'll take it.
A couple of guys for Watertown really impressed me when the Price kid has been the quarterback. He's a natural receiver. They moved him to quarterback. They brought the Waldorf kid in to play quarterback, and he's a freshman. He had some freshman slip-ups, but it looks like that kid's going to be good a couple of years from now.
Yeah, we played them Monday night in the freshman versus JV, and, Gavin said, I don't know what we'll look like on offense because I'm moving my freshman up. And I was like, kudos, build for the future, and if he's ready. And he said, well, they're not ever ready, but, trial by fire, we threw him in there, probably one of the most hostile environments that we'll have all year, and he handled himself well. It wasn't too big for him. It wasn't, things weren't going well. He said things weren't going well for us, and we decided to let's try it. And he made some errors, but you have to learn. I told him, I said, I felt the same way when we had Jalen Abston. I threw him in there, didn't necessarily want to, but we kind of babied him a little bit when he's a freshman. But going into his sophomore year, I said, let's just roll and go. And sometimes you have to look to the future sometimes to say, all right, this decision will make us better. And sometimes it does, sometimes it don't. But you go with your gut and what he's there with them every day in practice, so he knows.
We've talked about this before. Jalen got some work as a freshman, but you say maybe in hindsight, throw him out there and just let him go.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to destroy his confidence, but you're young, you're going to make mistakes. He was a sophomore and still made mistakes, but he got over those quickly and learned. And it's part of the process. We stick defensive tackles in there all the time and say let them play.
Yeah.
But at the quarterback position, it's a little more guarded because of the scrutiny and the high profile and that stuff. But sometimes you just got to let them play.
Looking once again at that Watertown game, Isaiah Mariah is a kid who really had a wonderful night all the way around. He blocked the punt, recovered the punt, intercepted a pass, threw a 50-yard completion, and then on the zone read took off and got a 51-yard touchdown. Did a little bit of everything.
Isaiah is the kid that has a lot of talent. He's played corner, he's played safety, he's played wideout, he's played quarterback. He's on all of our special teams, and he is a very valuable piece for us. And it's kind of the same way. We played him at quarterback a lot in the preseason, and then we decided he's playing so much. Let's roll with Kaysen because he's been playing good. But again, they're different, and it gives us a little. And here when we've been sputtering a little bit, so we've used him more and plan to continue to throw him in there at times and see what he can do. And Isaiah is a kid, and I begged him, I need consistency out of you because he's the kind of guy that Coach, I want to make the play. I want to be the dude. Sometimes you got to learn to, all right, let's just throw it away. Let's just, all right, you don't try to score on every play.
Yeah.
Get me the first down. And let's go to the next play. But Isaiah had a really good night. He's a really big piece for us, and he's got a bright future ahead, and is a big part of what we do on both sides of the ball.
Kincaid threw 3 touchdown passes, threw for 225 yards. Callaway caught 9 passes and a touchdown. Chaston Dixon made as good a catch as I've seen on a ball that Kaysen took one right in the mush when he turned that thing loose down the middle of the field and goes up and over a guy and plucks it for a touchdown. You got some guys who can catch the football.
Yeah, we've got several guys that can catch the football, guys that can do things with it. We've got good route runners, good hands, guys that are lengthy that'll go up and get it. We've got a good recipe when we stay in the pocket and go through our progression and we block and we do those things. And, like I told Chasen, sometimes the ball's going to find you. And if you play hard, sometimes good things happen. And again, he's one that sometimes is a mismatch. And we tried to get him down the sideline there right before half to try to let him do the same thing. And he has good hands, a basketball player. And we expect him to make those kind of plays and do those things. And, some nights the ball finds you and sometimes it doesn't. Some, just different things. And we've told him just to work hard and play hard and block and stuff, and we'll get you the ball. And then, Dane had a really good night getting to step in to be the number one receiver and saying, all right, you're going to get probably more looks, more touches than you've have been getting, and we expect you to have a good night. And he did that. Made 2 really good catches on kind of longer balls that were contested that he went up and got. And, one of them should have been easy touchdown, and we were a little late on the throw. But, the other one, Kaysen did a good job moving in the pocket and waiting for it to develop and come open. And, throwing the ball is just so hard. There's so many things that can go wrong and so many things that have to go right for it to be complete, But, again, that's why those guys get paid a lot in the NFL. If you can do it and stand in there and know where to go, when to go, and how to go, and keep doing it efficiently, you make big money.
I've talked to other coaches in Wilson County. There have been, and I'm trying to be diplomatic about this as best I can, there were 18 penalties accepted in that Lebanon Watertown game. The Green Hill game, there were 6 times Green Hill was called for having a lineman downfield on a pass. Mount Juliet had 3 touchdowns called back. Something's going on here. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but I don't think the game is being officiated in week 6 like it was in week 1 and week 2.
Well, first of all, I don't ever talk about officials.
I
It's
know
not
that.
my. But every once in a while, there's a night where it's like, goodness gracious, what's going on? And I try to make it a point to make those guys feel welcome, treat them right. Don't fuss about calls. I tell my coaches not to fuss about calls. I called timeout the other night to discuss one. I was completely wrong because I didn't even ask my coaches. The guy didn't line up off the ball. He's supposed to be on the ball, and I was. That was a 7-year conversation, not a one call conversation.
Yeah.
And so I actually told him, I said, we'll go to Town Square Social and I'll buy you some pizza. I said, what have I done wrong? But, some nights it goes your way, some nights it doesn't. We got one lineman downfield on an RPO and our center was uncovered and he blocked back. And the only reason that they called it was because as we were catching the slant route in there, the back judge getting out of the way and the center's right beside him, so he drops it. And it happens. And they're holding. You can call holding on every play. Sometimes you just feel like they don't call holding unless you make a big play, and then it's holding. But again, I will say this: I wouldn't want to officiate. You can't be right. I've got buddies that are officials. I talk to them all the time. I talk to Kenny Melton all the time. All the stuff that goes on, the easiest place to coach is in the chair and in the stands. Easiest place to officiate is in the chair and in the stands. For your team, it's not ever going to be right. For the other team, it's always going to be right. So they have a hard job, but it does get a little frustrating at times, especially when there's so many. And and again, if you wanted to, you could call something on every play if you really wanted to. On most nights, but a lot of the stuff that was happening to us, self-inflicted wounds that were happening. Sometimes you get those referees that are going to sit in there and not call a thing, and some of them are going to, all right, I'm being watched tonight. I'm going to make sure I'm perfect, and it's like I say, a thankless job, and I do appreciate the officials. I appreciate the good ones. I appreciate the ones that tell us what's going on and talk to us and stuff. And then you have the ones sometimes that don't want to talk to you and stuff. And, I've made it my goal as a head coach to try to be friendly to those guys and understand they're under pressure to do a lot. But it's just one of those things that, if they call one on Lebanon, I'm not going to be happy. If they call one on who we're playing, I'm probably going to say, yeah, that's a good call, but it's one of those things.
Wilson Central, the opponent this week. Wilson Central started the season 3-0. They've had 3 tough ones in a row. They've lost 3. You're going to get an angry Wilson Central team coming to Lebanon. And you go back 10 years, Chuck, they've won 7 out of 10 in the series.
Yeah, I think I said this Friday night talking to Joe. When you look at our tenure here in the last 7 years, we've pretty much been, but Wilson Central's kind of been the thorn in our side, and some of our worst moments, some of our crucial things that went wrong in that game. Of course, new staff, new thing, and we're kind of starting that over. But I know how I look at this game, and it's one that's important to us, and one that I know when the ball snapped, they're going to play hard. They're going to cause us problems. They've got some very good football players, and we talked about it just a few minutes ago. The Kimes kid, number 0, is as good a high school football player as you'll find around here. He's not a 5-star guy. He's not an SEC guy, but he's going to line up and he's going to play tight end and block. He's going to play snapper and block. He's going to catch the ball on pop passes and in the flats. He's going to line him up at receiver and throw it deep to him. He's going to catch it a wildcat and maybe tote it 20 times, and then he's going to go play linebacker and be around the football on every play. If I've said it once, I've said it 20 times this week, we've got to block number 0. I don't care who it is, what it is, how it is, whatever, do your job. But if you're comboing to number 0, you better make sure that we know where number 0 is, because if not, he'll make every tackle. And I mean that. He's a good, compliment to him. And then, they've got some other kids, some linemen that are good that show up, and then number 5 can take it to a distance anytime. And again, when you're in a skid like that of 3 games, you want the taste out of your mouth. And I'm sure that, coming to Lebanon in a region game, a rivalry game, they'd like nothing more than to right the ship against us.
And there's probably a little bit of sense of desperation. They need to get a region win.
Mm-hmm.
They need to.
Yeah, I mean, I've told our kids, if you look at it, it's kind of a in or out kind of game for both of us. I'm not looking ahead, but we've got 3 after fall break, and then going into fall break, this can put us up in the region or tied in the region, and you don't want to you don't want me. So it helps us to to go ahead and if you're I try not to look, but if you're looking at playoffs, the seedings and standings and stuff, a loss right here would not be good for our football team.
Wilson Central defensively, it looks like an odd front, a 50-type football team, and that's what they have played through the last several years.
Yeah, they're an odd front team. They played some 4-man front last week, but we always try to prepare for both. Just see, but I'm assuming that they'll probably be an odd front team back to what they do mostly, and again line up in there and play us where it's easy to adjust and do those things, and play sound football, play sound defense, and say here we go.
Keys to being where you want to be at the end of the football game, I would assume, again, getting lined up right defensively against what they're going to do, and then spot tackling. I thought last week against Watertown, Lebanon did a good job on tackling on the spot.
Well, I think if you ask me most weeks, I would say getting lined up correctly, flying around on defense. We've got to rally to the ball and have several hats on the ball, tackling well. Special teams, we've got to win the special teams battle, depending on which way you look at it. We maybe have an explosive play in the special teams, like last week a block punt. We've returned some kicks. We've blocked punts. Anytime you kick a touchback and they have to go 80 or cover a kick well and kick it where it's supposed to, cover it like it's supposed to, that's always big in that. And then, flip the field with a punt, or when you're backed up, you protect it, get it going, get it out of there. We did that twice last week of, all right, the offense is sputtering, and then, let's just keep, and their defense kept them out of the end zone and finally we got a little run there and got out of the hole. But, just the field position game with the special teams and then the explosive plays, and then always, being efficient on offense and not turning the ball over, and hopefully we can do that, and then, have some explosive plays and change the momentum and get, again, as you talked about 3 losses in a row, the longer that they believe and hang around, the harder they're going to fight and the harder it's going to be. And then, if you punch them in the mouth quick, maybe some of those wounds from the last 3 weeks start opening up, back up, and oozing a little bit, and it makes it easier. But, again, it's a rivalry game, and so I expect a 4-quarter hard-fought battle, and the field position, the special teams, turnovers, those things, blocking and tackling is what's going to mix it up. It don't matter what formation, play, pass, run, any of that stuff. It comes down to blocking, tackling, and execution.
You would love to have another big crowd in there for Friday night.
I would. We've got we're right now, and if you're listening, I encourage you to go vote. You can find it on all the social media from Lebanon Football, Blue Devil Football Foundation, all that. We're in a battle to be the Titans game of the week. Have some Titans things there. We're Greg Pogue and that radio station's going to be there.
WNSR's coming, yeah.
WNSR's coming. It's a region game. It's the game before fall break. It's a rivalry game. It's I say it all the time. I only care about us, but it's really, it's Lebanon versus Gladeville, Lebanon versus Lebanon, and so it'll be hopefully a good night for football, and we would love for the place to be packed, and like I say, those headgears cost money, and the more people that are packed in there, the more dollars that are flowing, the easier it makes my job. So I'd love to have a crowd. I challenged last week kind of on the radio. Joe kind of alluded to it, to let's have a big crowd. And if you're watching or listening, you can watch the Facebook Live time. You can go back and watch it. I go back and watch it and listen to Tommy and them every week. But there's nothing like being there, and there's nothing like the atmosphere with the band and the cheerleaders and the dance team and the little kids and all the stuff that's going on. The blue lights when we're coming in, and the fight song and running through the L and all that stuff. It just makes it a fun Friday night, and hopefully, that's what we want, the type of atmosphere where everybody wants to come out and go from there.
Let's talk quickly about some folks that help the program. Family Medical Associates and Pediatrics. They provide the funding that allows Shop Springs Creamery to be the official chocolate milk of Lebanon High football. There's a book project, Character Time, Partlow Funeral Chapel, Cumberland University, Mayhem Mechanical LLC, John McDearman, Buckeye Drugs, and Sellers Funeral Home help provide the books for our kids to study. And then this week's team meal sponsors got one new one, Heavenly Scents Soap Company. That's Gina and Richard Anderson. Jessica Harrell will provide cupcakes, and she entered our Blue Devil Bake Off 2 weeks ago, and the cupcakes were amazing. But Richard Anderson, former coach at Lebanon, was a defensive line coach for the Blue Devils when Coach Medley was there. He was the first head coach at Wilson Central. And did he coach at Smith County?
He coached at Smith County, yes.
Coached at Smith County as well. He's going to be doing some grilling. And if you ever want a guy to talk to you about kickoff returns, talk to Richard Anderson. He did this crisscross thing that was crazy. And then on Friday, Kenny Salas Realty Group will be providing the food for the Blue Devils. The kids love to eat, and thanks to the Andersons and Kenny Salas for doing that.
Yeah, and the chocolate milk, I don't have one tonight because they like it so good. They got them before I could grab one.
You have to sneak one.
I have to hide one. Coach Williams usually helps me hide one, and we didn't get one hid. So, with the Family Medical and Shop Springs Creamery, we love that. Matter of fact, on the way to the ball game, the freshman game the other night, me and Coach Clem, we stopped in at Shop Springs just to make sure everything was all right. And then, Richard Anderson, Coach A, be good to see him and the soap place. And I promised to try a cupcake. And then Kenny Salas has done a lot for us in the Blue Devil Football Foundation. And, he's feeding us. He's the honorary captain Friday night. So it'll be a big night with Kenny.
Chuck, thanks for the visit as always. We'll talk to you. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Sounds good, Tommy.
Chuck Gentry, head coach of the Blue Devils, with us on the first segment of Coach's Night Out live from Town Square Social. We'll be back with Tim Mathis, head coach at Cumberland, after this quick message. Welcome back to the second segment of Coach's Night Out, live from Town Square Social. Tim Mathis, head coach at Cumberland University, with me. And the odd part of the schedule, you played Kentucky Christian a week ago. You had an open date on either side of that. Now the grind starts. 7 straight weeks, 7 straight opponents. It starts Saturday, 6 o'clock, when Campbellsville comes in, Tim.
Yeah, it's not how it was originally planned, but it's it's what we're doing, and it's ask me about it 2 or 3 weeks from now. I guess they're eager to play again right now, so we're ready to just jump into the schedule, and it's conference time too. So, not that the previous stuff doesn't matter, but this determines where you're at in the conference, if you make the playoffs or whatever. So this is
all Mid-South Conference.
This is all Mid-South Conference games. We got St. Andrews sprinkled in there a little later on, but we're just ready to get headed to the conference.
You're 2-1. The 2 games Cumberland won, you played good football. The game you didn't win, you didn't play good football. Right. To boil everything down, it's all about how Cumberland plays.
Right. And that's, that is, I talk to you all the time about it, is, you do worry about your opponent. You got a game plan, you got a scheme and all that. But the biggest thing you got to work on is Cumberland, because if we do what we're capable of doing, we're a pretty good football team. So you do kind of, you stress that about taking care of Cumberland, do what we do and do how we want to do it. And then, you got obviously sprinkle in the game plan with that. And as long as we take care and do what Cumberland's supposed to do, we got a great shot at playing anybody.
How has this week of practice been? Because last week you backed off a little bit. You took a Monday off. You took a Friday off. You had the Phoenix Bowl games for some of the non-starters, right. Some of the red shirts to get some work during the week. But this week the attention has turned, I'm sure, to Campbellsville.
It has, and it's been. We've had 2 great days of practice. They're, again, because you had all last week too, they're eager to play somebody, because it hadn't been very routine, because we've had those 2 bye weeks sprinkled in, between a game or something. So they're just ready to get. They're ready to get into the grind. So
Campbellsville didn't play last week either.
They did not.
They did not. So they're coming off an open.
No, I think they did. I think they played Union, but that might have been the week before. I can't remember.
It all has run together. What do you see when you look at Campbellsville on film, Tim?
Offensively, they try to get it out of the quarterback's hands in a hurry, whether it is running or throwing the ball, quick screens, bubbles, quick game. They're not a big vertical threat team. They're trying to get the ball out of the quarterback's hands in a hurry. And then defensively, it's kind of a weird thing defensively. Like, even they send their 2 deep. It's a 12-man 2 deep instead of 11-man 2 deep. I've never had that happen before. But 2 games they've played an odd front, 2 games they've played an even front. So those games, they don't jump back and forth between it. So we're really not going to know.
So they're going to stay in.
What if it's a 3-man? So we've had to work on both defenses, because you really don't know. You kind of think that the way we run the ball, they're probably going to be a 4-man team, but you don't know that until they line up. But it's been weird. 2 games they've been in an odd front, 2 games they've been in an even front, but they've stayed in that defense when they do it. But it kind of makes you think, it's the whole purpose. They send what they did on their 2 deep. You send a 12-man 2 deep. You can't play with 4 linebackers and 4 down linemen. It just, we're not in the Canadian League. We don't get to play with 12 guys. But
so their personnel changes based on what they're doing.
What they're doing, if it's a 3-man or a 4-man. And it really doesn't. It's really, they bring an extra, when they want to go 4 down, they bring an extra D lineman in, take a linebacker out. But one of their linebackers, one of the spots they have for linebackers is their nickel guy. He's really not a linebacker. He's that strong safety type guy. But, it's going, the first play or two is going to determine what defense they're in or whatever, but we're preparing for both of them.
Well, in theory, you can always run the ball against any front.
It doesn't matter. That's the thing. We got to identify if it's an even or an odd front, and we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. We're working on both, so we're going to be fine with either one. It's just identifying it and make sure that, with whichever defense it is, that you block it soundly.
Preparation, getting ready for an opponent, a lot of that relies on that scout team and the coach with the clipboard and the plays and saying, okay, now here's what we're going to run. Here's how we're going to line up, and getting a good look from those guys to help your offense and your defense.
It's paramount. It's to me, and I tell our guys that it's the lifeblood of the college football team, because if you don't get, if your prep team doesn't give you a good look all week and put on film, and show what they're doing, we're not going to be ready to play that team. So it's paramount that they do a great job. It can be a stigma like, oh, I'm on, the scout team or whatever, but it's one of the reasons we give that scout team, offensive scout team and defensive scout team player of the week, because it's so vital for your program to do well. The better they give us a look, the better we're going to play, because if we can get guys that are playing to what they're doing and at the same speed, we're used to their offense or defense, because they've prepared us so well. So it's paramount to me. It's paramount to college football.
Has, on the offensive side of the football, have you had some good practices this week against both those fronts?
We have, and we've put, and it's real important. We're getting into the fourth game too of you're not necessarily going to do exactly what you've been doing. Those, you self scout yourself. We've been doing this a bunch or whatever, so you start adding some wrinkles to it and in different things. And we've had some really good practice, and I think we got a great, for either one of those defenses, I think we got a great game plan for it.
And you've got some depth in the backfield. You got guys. Shepard leads the way, but it's not all on Traylon.
It's not. But this week, Tim Pinnell's been out sick. Not sure if he's going to get to play Saturday. So
he's a kid from Oakland.
He's one from Oakland, so it might just be Traylon and Nick Moore, which is fine. They can handle the load. We've done it, and I've done it since I've been here a lot too. If you have that 3-man rotation too, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's one guy can handle it, but if you rotate it, they're fresh in the fourth quarter. So you're never, if you get that constant pounding of, the next guy's in and he's just as good as but Nick and Traylon will handle that real well. But that is probably one of our deeper spots. We've even got Lamar Childress that's with us. That he's been with us several years. I believe he's from McGavick. He's capable of coming in and being just as good as those guys are, and so it is a deep room, and we're comfortable with anybody that we have to put in there. Rod Payne, that's actually playing slot receiver for us, is our emergency running back, because he is a running back. We moved him to slot to get him in the game, so we're real comfortable with that spot. Offensive
line, are you playing 5, 6, 7 guys? How is that rotation going?
We've played about 7 or 8 guys at times, but it's a pretty good rotation. That the better you are at, you want guys that can come in there and give some guys some breathers at times, but you also want that same core to stay in there as much as possible too. But we've been pretty darn good up there. Of what I like, I think they're starting to really, really gel together, and it takes sometimes that takes some time to do, but I really think they're really gelling as a unit. This group of starters have really getting together, and some quality backup guys that are some of them are young but are going to be fantastic football players, but the O-line, I'm really, really pleased with how they're just coming along and gelling. It's night and day from game 1 now to game 4 where they're at.
You think about it, your preseason was shorter by a week because of the way the schedule fell. So you've had a couple of off weeks. You're now getting ready for game 4, and it's been 5 weeks, 6 weeks.
Right.
They've had the opportunity
More or less
to work.
half the season.
Yeah, to actually work.
With the off weeks, they've basically had half the season that's why they're gelling. But I think that's why we've had in the last couple of weeks too. We've had some just really the last 3 weeks. We really hadn't had a bad offensive practice, and it's because they're picking up those twists and everything that D linemen do. Where those first couple of weeks they weren't. It was coming at them so quick. But I think the game, when you start getting really good, the game slows down for everybody. And I think, especially for some of those young guys, the game's starting to slow down a little bit.
How much contact do you have in a given practice when you're going best on best? You do some of that. Are you taking them to the ground? Is it thud them up a little bit? Or
we get and once we get to game week, we don't. Other than we do a couple of periods in our off week where we kind of it's full, it's everything.
Yeah.
But in a game week, it's all thud or tag off. Just because we try to save our guys. You don't want. I've always had this saying: if they're going to get hurt, I want them to be in a game. You don't want them to get hurt. Period. But
yeah.
I'd rather be in a game than we did something foolish or because sometimes nobody's ever trying to hit somebody with malice. It's just when you take them to the ground, things can happen. So we don't do a lot of that, but thud more or less is that. It's just you stay up and it's the O-line and D-line end up on the ground a whole bunch just because sometimes they're just
that's just the nature of it.
That's just the nature of it, and they're tripping over each other or something, but we do a good job of taking care of our guys, not to try to get them hurt during practice. But we try, even thud. We try to play fast and to contact as fast as we can.
Injury wise, how have you been to this point? And with again an open week, are you getting folks back who maybe a little beat up?
Yeah, I think we've got some guys that are beat up. We got 1 or 2 that might be, if they play this week or not, but that's really going to be on us, as they probably could play. We just might not play them. But knock on wood, we've been fairly healthy going through this. So we've got a couple of guys that are still battling some things that that'll be game time, not game time decision. By Friday, we'll be able to tell, okay, they can go this week, but they're all could possibly go this week. It's just a matter of do we play them or not.
Are there a couple of things that Campbellsville does offensively that you're going to have to target and take care of to put yourself in a position so late in the football game you're where you want to be?
Yeah. I mean, for them, what they do offensively, we got to run to the ball because they do get rid of the ball and hurt. They spread you way out and run the quick screens, the bubbles, the now screens, or whatever. And you've got to be sound with it. And the biggest thing is getting lined up properly where there's not a gaping hole there for them to bust through one of those screens. So first things first is we got to line up properly. And then it's just rally, and our Coach Smith does such a great job of those guys running to the football. But that's the biggest thing is when you have a lot of those bubbles and things like that happen out in space, it's about tackling. You can't miss tackles. If you get there, you got to hold on for dear life and hold them up to let everybody get a shot in at it. That's the biggest thing for me is get lined up properly and tackle great. I think we'll be in a good position if we can do those things.
Well, and your defensive line is such that they've got some mobility, all right. Those guys you play, and if they throw it out here, you want those guys to chase and kind of set up a wall.
Right, and that's the biggest. We do have speed there, and that's the thing. If you're all rallying to the ball, is until that guy goes down, the whistle blows. Great things can, turnovers can happen, but they can't happen if you're not running to the football. And that's a big thing about us. We want to rally to that, and we want to try to create turnovers as much as possible.
6 o'clock is kickoff at Noakes Lassiter Field as Campbellsville comes in for the first Mid-South Conference game of the year. Everything has built toward this point, hasn't it?
It has, and that's we're excited to start conference play to see where we are in the conference, and first guy up, whoever that is, we're ready to get after it.
Tim, thanks for the visit as always. Best of luck, and talk to you on Saturday.
All right, thank you. Go Phoenix.
Tim Mathis, head coach at Cumberland University, with us here on the second segment of our Coaches Night Out show from Town Square Social. We'll be back to close it up after these words. Segment 3 of our show tonight. Let me run through the schedule first. Week 7, and it doesn't seem possible that it's week 7. September 29th, Wilson Central at Lebanon, Warren County at Green Hill, Mount Juliet at Antioch, Friendship at Providence Christian. They're going to play that at Floyd Stadium at MTSU. Giles County at Watertown, Mount Juliet Christian at Grace Christian, Franklin. Town Square Social Live, Town Square Social with Coaches Night Out. My sponsors, Advantage Roofing Contractors, LLC, Donnie Self and Rob Painter, Darrell Tidwell, Loan Originator with Southern Bank of Tennessee, the Salas Realty Group, 120 Public Square, Lebanon, THW Insurance Services, LLC, Cumberland University Athletics, DT McCall and Sons, Lebanon, Carthage, Lafayette, Franklin, and Cookville. Now, Ben Kuhn, head coach at Wilson Central, with us.
Second time this year.
Second time.
Love it.
We are back into the rotation now.
The food's even better the second time.
What'd you have tonight?
I went with the chicken quesadilla. It's got smoked chicken on it. Delicious. And the house chips, phenomenal.
Well, they never disappoint here at Town Square Social. And I can tell you that they don't take reservations. So
Get here early.
Get here early. They rent out this room up here that we're in, and they're gracious enough to let us come in here and have our show here. So thanks to Cody and Kyle at Town Square Social. For for being so hospitable and inviting all this bunch in. We think we've created a little bit of business for these guys. But Ben, your football team started out 3-0. They've lost 3 tough ones in a row. I would imagine Lebanon's going to get a dose of a desperate foxhole mentality kind of football team.
Yeah, I mean, everybody always says you learn more about yourself when you lose, but to be honest with you, we're kind of tired of learning about ourselves. We're ready to get
Time
back
for
to
the
that.
lessons,
Yeah,
Ben.
yeah, we learned a lot of lessons in 3 weeks. But I mean, you look at it, and we played 3 really good teams in order. I mean, I keep saying it to everybody that listens. Shelby was unbelievable. Mount Juliet, they're awesome. Green Hill, I mean, you're seeing the season they're having. So, the 3 losses we've had have been against really good football teams. And, we fought, and we've learned a lot about ourselves. And, we're kind of backed into a corner now. So we're going to kind of see what kind of team we have, what kind of mentality we have coming into this week.
I was so impressed with Mayfield's guts to have the knee injury that he had and to brace up, tape up, and say, I'm going to give it a shot.
Yep.
And there's only so much he could do.
Yep.
He shut it down, right?
Yeah, and he's a team guy. I mean, he wanted to be out there for his team. He was cleared to play, and then he just kind of planted on it weird and went down. But it's tough to see that happen. But once again, he's been a leader. He's been at practice every day. He's in there coaching the guys up. He's still trying to throw as much routes as he can on his brace with his, But super proud of him. Hate to see what happened to him. But the good news is he's a junior, so he's got another year coming up. So we're excited to see him.
And I want to say, is it Lechner or Lesh?
I say Leshner is what I've always said.
Put an S in there.
I've never been corrected, so I'm assuming Leshner.
So he has become the quarterback, and he has played other spots for you, but he's a tough bird.
Yeah, I mean, he punts for us too. I mean, he does everything. He's a great kid. I mean, he's been one of those since the first day I got there. He kind of stood out to me. And, kind of like we talked about last time with him, I mean, he didn't hesitate when we asked him to move over to quarterback. We knew he had a pretty good arm, and obviously he runs the ball well. So he gives us kind of a different threat back there, and, it's worked pretty well for us so far.
Speaking of threats, Chuck talked about number 0, Ethan Combs, who is a rock'em sock'em defensive player for you, but you have moved him around on the offensive side of the football, Ben, and he's effective and dangerous anywhere you put him.
Well, I've been telling people for a while now about him. I mean, he can play any position he wants to. He can probably line up and play guard and be one of our better offensive linemen. I mean, he's a team guy. Our goal on offense is to put kids in the best situation possible for them based on their skill talent. And, I mean, like I said, we can put them anywhere. And, we got into some, I guess, Wildcat stuff with him last week. And we really started clicking when we did that. But, he's one of our key leaders. Great kid, unbelievable football player, just a tough kid. And he's so much fun to watch play.
He has run for a touchdown. He has caught touchdown passes, and he has thrown a touchdown pass off the Tebow thing.
No, that was Leshner.
Was that Leshner did that? Okay.
Yeah. So,
all those offensive players look alike to me after a while.
We'll have to see with his arm. I mean, he doesn't have as great of an arm as Leshner does, but we'll have to see. We're willing to try anything at this point with him.
How has the week of prep, and of course this is Wednesday, so you've had a couple of days. How has that been with this football team? Because the head sometimes is it gets to be tough, and they've had 3 losses in a row against good opponents. How's practice been?
Well, and the loss against Mount Juliet was tough too, because that's a big rivalry. It means a lot to those kids, especially the kids who are at West Wilson. But the biggest thing is, we kind of challenged our guys at halftime of that game to, hey, let's win the second half. And you look at the box score. Excuse me, our kids came out and did that, and then that carried over into practice. They've refocused. Obviously, they've taken some tough losses this year, but as far as our mentality, it's been great. I told the kids after practice today, this is probably the best practice we've had since I've been here. I mean, they were focused, they were dialed in. Normally we go no shoulder pads on Wednesdays, but we went shoulder pads today, and they responded. And it was great. So I really like where our mentality's at. These kids are still fighting, and they still believe, which is good. That's what you want.
Well, Wilson Central has traditionally played good football against Lebanon, and when you go back and look, Central has won 7 out of the last 10. They have won games that you figure they don't have a real shot, and there's no denying that deep down this game means something to those Wilson Central kids.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I know that's a record for the last 10 years, but since Coach Gentry's got there, a lot of things have changed. He's done an amazing job. Our goal as a program is we really want to elevate ourselves to the level that he's taken that program. We look at, kind of what he's done in the time he's been there, and our goal is to repeat that same thing, but down there on Wildcat Way is our goal. So it's really cool to get to play against a program like that. And even with the record does look like the last 10 years, I think it'll still be a great football game. Like I said, their program is kind of what we're trying to model ourselves after and have that success that he's enjoyed.
Have you got some things that hey, we've got to do this and this to be where we want to be in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, well, they have unbelievable athletes over there. Some of those kids, man, they've got speed everywhere you look. So, we've got to keep them contained. Our biggest goal, and I've said it all season, is we're going to play a game with Central. Our goal is to be the more physical team. That's kind of our recipe of success. And, you look at the games we've won and the games we've been in, we've been very physical. So, that's really where it starts for us is we got to keep contained all the speed they have. And we got to get out there and be the physical team that we know we can do.
But I know, Mayfield's had the knee. Are you generally healthy otherwise coming into this one?
We're as healthy as we can be. Everybody has injuries and stuff at this point of this year, but I feel pretty good about where we're at. We've had a few things just kind of lingering stuff, but overall, I think we've got about as healthy as you would expect this time of year. So,
depth-wise, how many guys are you trying to work some guys in? I know, sometimes the second string guys kind of get overlooked because you want to try to play everybody and with JV and that sort of thing. Or are you?
Early in the year we were trying to stay much more almost platoon, offense only guys, defense only guys, and then usually as we get later in the year and you get to games like this that are super important that make or break the season, it's really all hands on deck, whoever we need. I told our guys this week, there's no restrictions on who plays offense, who plays defense. Whatever we got to do to win is what we got to do. At that point in the year, that's just kind of how we're approaching it. Our kids have responded to it. Our numbers are still really good, but just trying to get the best guy on the field at the right spot is what we're doing.
How has it gone with the younger guys, with the ninth graders, the JV work that you've tried to get in during this far into the season?
Yeah, it's been great. Our JV kids, they fought their tails off. We've got a lot of sophomores who are seeing action on Fridays, so it's not a true all the guys that are traditionally be on the JV team for us. But our JV, we're very excited with them. Our freshmen just finished their season. We moved a bunch of them up. I think 13 kids joined our varsity team just to try to get them to start seeing, hey, here's how we do things on varsity. Here's the tempo of practice. Here's the precedence with our culture that we believe in. So that's been encouraging. I think we've got a really good freshman class that has potential to do some special things in West Central.
The zoo crew, that student body, they have been there through thick and thin through the years for Wilson Central, and that has been a tradition where they turn out, and there's no reason to think that Wilson Central won't have a good crowd coming to Lebanon on Friday.
Yeah, our student section, our fan support has been awesome this year. I think they're starting to see, some of the changes that our coaching staff is making, and they're starting to see it. It hasn't obviously shown up as much on the box score as we want yet, but they're starting to see there's something different. There's some excitement there. There's a different intensity, and our fans have really responded to it. Our student section has been awesome. They've done a great job all year. Our band has been amazing at all the games. They play loud all the time. So it's cool just to see the whole school culture kind of come together and support football, and then us try to give back and support those other groups that are supporting us is key to it too.
Well, when football is a big deal and the kids recognize that and understand it and support it, it makes for the whole school atmosphere. It raises that up.
Absolutely. You got to think, most of 100 guys are involved in your school football, and usually those guys are your leaders. And if those guys are into it, they're passionate about it, they're developing. It'll take a whole school, and it can change the whole mentality of the school. So that's something that's big to us. And like I said, our goal as coaches at Wilson Central is not just to have football be successful. We want everybody to be successful. We want our band to excel, our cheerleading team to excel, and so whatever we can do to support those guys is what we want to do.
You're 6 games into your head coaching career. And everyone who coaches at some point wants to be a head coach. Are there things that you've learned that maybe have surprised you through this first part of the season so far?
It surprised me. Yeah, there's been some things that I'm not used to having to deal with.
Because you got to deal with a lot of.
Yeah, it's different. It's like it was nice when I was just an offensive coordinator. I could just zero in and just focus on offense. That's all I had to worry about. But now there's two other important phases that I also got to be on top of. Obviously I have great assistant coaches who handle a lot of that, but you've got not as much time to major in one thing. You kind of have to oversee everything. And so being able to do that and, time management skills, that kind of stuff is important. But, you're always learning. You're always trying to get better. Even if you do this for years, there's always something you can learn and pick up. So, I've got some great coaches that I've coached for in the past that have been just excellent people that I can call whenever I have questions or if I need advice or sometimes just to vent about different things. It's been great to be able to call some of those guys.
Well, it's really good to have someone that you can pick up the phone and they're going to tell you like it is.
Yep, absolutely. And the biggest thing that most of the guys I talk about is just stick with what you believe, do what you know is right. Love on the kids, make sure they're having the best time you possibly can playing football, and then everything else will follow after that. So that's been our goal.
Well, again, best of luck.
Sir.
Thanks for the visit. We appreciate it, and we know it's going to be a knockdown, drag out.
Should be a good one.
At Tribble Field, Watkins Stadium on Friday night. Wilson Central and Lebanon wouldn't have it any other way.
I love it. Hey, that's Wilson County football. All these games are close. It's physical. There's a lot on the line. Stadiums are packed. It's nowhere else I'd rather coach. Love it.
Ben, thanks for the visit. We
Yes, sir.
appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Ben Kuhn, head coach at Wilson Central, with us as we close out the show. Thanks to everybody. And I want to take just a moment to thank the folks who view this show. I've been told that last week's show went over 2,000 views. And that is the biggest show in the Main Street Media family of these shows we do. We got 15, 16 of these sports shows that the company does, but 2,000 views is pretty special. And I thank you folks for sharing it, passing it along, and that's how it works on this social media, to see it, and apparently, Ben, not only are they watching here, but a lot of folks, when they ought to be at work on Thursday, are pulling it up on their desktop and watching it. So that's not a bad thing.
It's must-see TV. You got to tune in. You never know what's going to happen.
Well, we appreciate that. Thanks very much. For everybody involved with the program, for Justin behind the camera, for Hunter, who's handling our folks back here. I'm Tommy Bryan. I'll talk to you later.